I spent Sunday just taking little video clips of the foods that I was making because it was going to be a day that I was using a whole lot of our own foods, things we've put up, jarred, frozen, fermented, kept in cold temperatures like potatoes. And I just took little clips and thought I would share with you how I go about making our meals based on what we have on hand and what might be ready to go bad, what needs to be used up in the fridge. This particular cooking adventure, there were so many little tiny jars of things, and I was determined to make use of them all, and it really came out beautifully. I started a bread pudding, and that bread pudding will be in the next video that I put out. I just had some, and it is so delicious. It's really important for me to say that. We are a family of 7, and many of the children do not eat a lot of the food that I cook, and I create separate meals, which you will see in there. I threw in a few just to keep it real. It's not the prettier stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's what they're eating. And then because this was brunch today, it wasn't a 3-meal day. So in between, there's snacking on things like peanuts and apples and celery and chips and cheese and whatever's around. We're a snacky family. So join me today for a Sunday in the kitchen. It begins with backyard fresh eggs. We finally have enough to make a frittata and salt and pepper. From the larder, I've collected potatoes, the last of them, frozen kale, frozen garlic scapes in oil, fresh garlic, fresh onion. I'm so proud that almost everything in this meal we have grown and preserved, including this beautiful black futsu winter squash. We made squash bread in my Sacred Roots winter circle, and it was lovely. I'll be using 18 eggs for this frittata. And to get started, we'll just saute the onion, garlic, the garlic scapes, and the potatoes in a bit of oil. You'll also have the oil from the garlic scape ice cubes. I'll be using almond milk, an herbed salt that we made this fall, pepper, and the 18 eggs, as this will go in a double size, really large cast iron pan. When you preserve foods in jars, they often become the star of the meal. Here are tomato jam and onion jam that will go on top. It looks like our potatoes are soft, so we'll pour the eggs over the top and just let that set. Then I've dolloped the winter squash, the jams, and broken up the kale on the top. The colors are wild. Remember to set your timer. This frittata I will check after 10 minutes and then 5 minutes after that, and if it needs more, 5 minutes until it's done. When you know it's done, the egg will be set like a cushion and it will be bubbling and smell amazing. And this will be brunch on a beautiful Sunday. There will also be a beautiful tea from the herbs that we harvested at the end of the gardening season. This jar is a little bit of everything: sage, thyme, rosemary, calendula, lemon balm. I mean, pretty much if it was an herb I was growing, it went into this jar. Oregano, Tulsi basil. And then we're just going to pour some really boiling hot water over top. It usually takes me 2 of these tea kettles because my tea kettle is very tiny. And then I just let it sit for about 10 minutes or however long I feel. I like to drink this really warm and hot. I also really enjoy it room temperature. And while the tea steeps, I'm going to take our very last jar of infused herbal honey and strain it. And to do this, I'm going to put my honey jar into a pot that had boiling hot water in it, and I'm just going to let it sit. This is a sage, thyme, rosemary honey that I started early November. And once it sits in the hot water, you can strain it nice and easily. The honey will just run right through the strainer. It will take a little bit of time. Now, to keep things very realistic, not all of my kids will eat that beautiful frittata. Many egg sandwiches will also be made today. All right, so next is checking the fridge to see what jars need to be used. Here we have cardamom, blueberry plum jam, and tomato chutney. And this seems to me like it would make a perfect barbecue sauce. So I'm just going to dump all of those into the Instant Pot. Oh, look, we have another breakfast sandwich moment. Another child woke up. All right, so I'm going to put those in the Instant Pot, and I'm also going to add just a tiny bit of paprika. And you can blend this before or after you cook it. I did about 30 minutes in the Instant Pot, and then just blending with the hand blender so that the chunks of the tomato chutney are incorporated, because not all children are going to eat that. And then I find myself with the most beautiful jar of sage, thyme, rosemary infused honey. Isn't that gorgeous? We'll eat off that the rest of the winter. And then this huge jar of plum blueberry barbecue sauce. I'm also going to prepare something for tomorrow that I'm going to make. I'm going to try making bread pudding. So the foods that we're eating today are the frittata and the barbecue shrimp tacos, which I'll show you later. But for now, I'm just going to cube up the bread. This is a gluten-free French bread loaf, and I just want it to sit out so that it can kind of get stale overnight. I'm also adding a little bit of that squash bread that I talked about that we had left over, which was very stale. So I'm just cubing that up as well and adding it. And this bowl of bread, I'll just tuck it over on the counter, and it'll sit overnight and hopefully not be disturbed by any of the animals. We have basketball tonight, so a very easy dinner when we get back is going to be the shrimp tacos with the barbecue sauce that we made earlier. This is the frozen shrimp that I'm just thawing in the colander while we're at the basketball game. I think tacos are one of the easiest meals ever. You fry up whatever you're putting, you're filling, and then add your toppings. Here we have barbecue shrimp over almond flour tortillas with some dairy-free sour cream and some cortido that I preserved this fall with cabbage and spicy peppers.